Around the late 1200s, a new type of map starts appearing in the historical record, and what makes it unusual is not just how detailed it is, but how complete it already looks from the very beginning. One of the earliest examples, the Carta Pisana, shows the Mediterranean coastline with a level of precision that doesn't match what we would expect from that period. If you place it next to a modern map, the alignment isn't rough or symbolic. It's structured, almost as if the proportions were already known in advance. And that's where the problem starts, because mapping coastlines accurately across long distances isn't something that happens by guesswork. In the 13th century, sailors could follow direction with a compass and estimate position using the stars, but they had no reliable way to calculate longitude, which means they couldn't fix exact positions across large distances. So even in the best case, you would expect distortion. But here, the distortion is minimal. And not just on one map. Multiple charts from different cities, Pisa, Genoa, Venice, all show the same kind of precision. And they don't look like experiments or early attempts. They look finished. That alone is unusual. But the part that really stands out is something most people miss at first. If you look closely at these maps, you'll see a web of straight lines crossing the entire surface. They're not decorative. They form a directional grid. These are called rhumb lines, and they represent constant compass directions, the paths a ship would follow if it kept the same heading. Now here's why that matters. On a curved Earth, those paths don't behave in a simple way. To represent them correctly on a flat surface, you need a mathematical system that accounts for the curvature of the planet, not basic navigation, actual geometry of a sphere. And that's where the contradiction becomes hard to ignore. Because at the time these maps appear, Europe did not yet have the mathematical tools required to construct that kind of system with precision. So now you're looking at a map that doesn't just show coastlines accurately. It uses a framework that shouldn't have been available yet. And when researchers tested this more directly, the gap became even clearer. When these charts are overlaid onto modern geographic data, the error margin is far smaller than expected, closer to levels that weren't reached again until several centuries later, when navigation and measurement tools had advanced significantly. That's not a small difference. It's a gap of hundreds of years, and attempts to recreate that level of accuracy using the methods available in the 13th century don't produce anything close, which means the explanation can't be gradual improvement, because there is no visible path leading up to this. And that's where the question shifts. Because if these maps weren't built step by step, then they weren't created the way we think. They were used. And once you start looking at them that way, another detail begins to stand out. Some of the locations marked on these charts correspond to ports that were no longer active at the time the maps were drawn, places that had already changed or fallen out of use, which suggests the information wasn't current. It was older. So now you're not just looking at a map that's too accurate. You're looking at a map that reflects a different moment in time, and that changes the entire picture. Because if the map is more accurate than the tools available, and some of its details reflect an earlier state of the world, then the most direct explanation is not that medieval cartographers suddenly became more advanced. It's that they were working from something that already existed, something more complete, something that solved the problem before they did. You can think of it like this. It's not like watching someone learn how to build a system. It's like finding the system already built, and then watching people copy it without fully understanding how it works. And that's where the real tension begins. Because if these maps are copies, then there has to be an original, a source that contains the full structure they're repeating. But that source doesn't appear anywhere in the record. No earlier versions, no drafts, no explanation of where the method came from. Just these finished charts showing up, being used, and then continuing forward. Which means what we're looking at isn't the beginning of this knowledge, it's the middle of it, and whatever came before it is the part that's missing. When you look closely at how these charts are built, they don't behave like a single map. They behave like something assembled, because different regions align well on their own, but don't connect perfectly at the edges. creating small but consistent distortions. A simple way to picture this is to imagine a modern map cut into pieces and then put back together without the original reference. The overall shape would still look right, but the joins would never be exact, and that is what researchers like Roel Nicolai found when analyzing these charts. This pattern becomes clearer when you compare accuracy across distance, because over long ranges, the geometry holds together with surprising precision. Coastlines stay consistent and proportions remain stable. But at smaller scales, the structure begins to drift. Local details lose alignment, and that contrast follows a pattern you would expect from copying. The large structure is preserved, but the fine detail degrades, which suggests the map makers were not building the system, they were working from it. Another detail reinforces this, because the coastlines are drawn with far more precision than the inland regions, which are often simplified or incomplete, creating a sharp contrast between what is measured and what is not. If these maps came from land-based exploration, both would improve together, but instead, the accuracy is concentrated along the edges, which points to a system focused on navigation across water rather than mapping territory. The geometry adds another layer, because the directional lines across these maps form a consistent grid that preserves compass paths. And representing that correctly on a flat surface requires accounting for the curvature of the Earth. That aligns with projection methods that would not be formally developed in Europe until centuries later, which creates a timing problem, because the structure appears before the system needed to create it. At this point, the pattern becomes difficult to ignore. The maps are assembled rather than drawn. Their accuracy behaves like a copied structure. Their precision is focused where navigation matters, and their geometry reflects a method that does not match their time. Taken together, this suggests the map makers were not inventing the system, they were using it. That idea becomes stronger when you look at the information itself, because some ports shown on these charts were no longer active when the maps were produced, meaning the data reflects an earlier state of the coastline. The map belongs to one period, but parts of its information belong to another, which reinforces the idea that these charts are reconstructions of something older. So the question shifts, not how these maps were made, but what they were made from, because if the structure was copied, then the original must have contained a complete and highly precise model of the coastline. But that source is missing. No original maps, no full system, only fragments that were reused and passed forward without explanation, which means what we are seeing is not the beginning of this knowledge, but what remained after it was already broken apart. Once the focus shifts away from the charts themselves and toward whatever they were copied from, the problem becomes less about mapping and more about origin, because the consistency, the structure, and the accuracy all point to a system that existed before these maps appear in the record, and that system is the one thing we don't have. The most common explanation is that this knowledge passed through earlier civilizations, preserved in fragments and eventually copied by medieval cartographers, with the Byzantine world often placed at the center of that transfer, because it maintained access to older geographic knowledge inherited from the Roman period. Trade networks connected cities like Constantinople, Venice, and Genoa, making it possible for information to move even when original sources did not survive. That explains how knowledge could travel, but it doesn't explain where it began. Because even if these charts were copied from Byzantine material, that only moves the problem backward. It doesn't resolve it, since the same level of accuracy still has to be accounted for at an earlier point in time. And that is where the gap remains. Because when you look for a complete version of this system, something that shows the full structure before it was divided into parts and passed forward, it isn't there. No master chart, no central reference, no record of the method in its original form. Only the later copies exist, and they already assume a level of knowledge that is not explained alongside them. That absence is not just missing data. it changes how the entire timeline is interpreted. Because if a system appears fully formed without visible development, then either the development happened outside the record, or the system originated in a context that was not preserved. And both possibilities lead to the same place. The origin is missing. There is another detail that adds to this. The accuracy seen in these charts is not matched again until much later, when navigation improves with better instruments and more precise measurement techniques, which means there is a gap of several centuries where this level of precision appears, then effectively disappears, and then reappears again when the tools finally catch up. That pattern is unusual, because knowledge normally accumulates. It doesn't appear, vanish, and then re-emerge later. But here, that is exactly what seems to happen, which suggests that what medieval cartographers had access to was not part of a continuous progression. It was something inherited, something preserved temporarily, and then something that was no longer available in its original form. That shifts the question again, because instead of asking whether medieval cartographers were capable of creating these maps, the more direct question becomes whether they were working with a system that had already solved the problem, and if so, what happened to that system after it was used. Because whatever produced that level of accuracy had to involve a method of measurement, a way of modeling the Earth, and a way of translating that model into a usable map, and none of those components appear clearly in the record at the time these charts are made. Only the result appears, and that separation is what makes the pattern difficult to resolve, because we can see what was preserved, but we can't see how it was created. And when the process is missing but the result remains, it leaves a gap that cannot be filled by the existing timeline alone. At that point, the maps stop being just historical objects. They become evidence of something incomplete in the record. Not proof of a specific origin, but a clear indication that the explanation we have does not fully account for what is observed. Which brings the focus back to the same unresolved point. These charts exist. Their structure can be analyzed. Their accuracy can be measured. Their patterns can be repeated. But the system that produced them, the complete version, the source they were copied from, does not appear alongside them. Which means what we are looking at is not the beginning of this knowledge. It is what remained after its origin was no longer visible. And until that origin is identified, these maps will continue to represent a system that appears in the record already complete, is used and reproduced for centuries, and yet has no clearly defined starting point within the history we currently have.